When it comes to leadership, there are really two games being played. There's the game we're all told we should play, and then there's the game that's actually won. Today, we're going to map out the hidden signals that separate the two. Okay, let's dive right in with the big question, the one every ambitious person has to face, right? Are you rewarded for being inspiring, for having great intentions, or are you rewarded for getting things done, no matter what it takes? The answer to that pretty much defines your career.
You know, most of the leadership advice out there, it's all focused on the ideal. This explainer, this is about what's real. We're going to look at how power actually works inside the organizations you're a part of every single day.
All right, so let's start with the signal. The signal is that one powerful, often counterintuitive truth that most people just miss. And when it comes to leadership, the biggest myth, the biggest signal people miss, is that there's only one way to lead. The truth is, there are two.
In reality, what you have are two competing games, running at the same time. On one side, you've got the idealist. Thinkers like John C. Maxwell really champion this view. Their whole game is about influence, which is built on trust and serving others. But on the other side, you've got the realist, described perfectly by Stanford's Jeffrey Pfeffer. Their game is about power, and it's built on politics and just plain delivering results. These are not the same thing, not at all.
So what's the pattern under the surface here? Well, it really boils down to the difference between seeking loyalty and seeking control. Let's break down the core dynamic, the currency of these two very different games.
First up, influence. In the Maxwellian idealist game, influence is everything. It's your ability to change someone's behavior because they trust you, because they respect you, because they want to follow you. You have to earn it. You can't just take it.
And then there's power. See, unlike influence, power isn't about being liked. In the Pfefferian game, power is the raw ability to get things done, period. Even when people are pushing back, even when they resist you. It's all about controlling resources, understanding the political map, and just overcoming any opposition. It's about control.
This quote from Robert Greene just perfectly captures the nuance here. So much of this is fought on the battlefield of perception. How you manage your image, what you say, and maybe more importantly, what you don't say, these are all tools of power. It's about projecting control. You can have two leaders who both seem ethical, but the one who understands this game of perception is the one who wins.
So how does this pattern actually play out in the real world? Let's look at the game itself, specifically through the lens of ethics versus outcomes. Because what you're about to see is that what organizations say they reward and what they actually reward, well, they can be two very different things.
Okay, this slide, it's a bit brutal, but it's honest. If you really look at who gets promoted, who gets the big bonuses, a very clear pattern emerges. Just look at how delivered results towers over everything else. At the end of the day, organizations value results. Following the ideal process is nice, sure, but it's not what gets you to the top, and pure ethical idealism, it's often valued the least. The system is built to reward winners.
And this is not some new, cynical idea. I mean, we're talking centuries ago. Machiavelli pointed out this exact same tension. He said that for a leader to succeed, to simply hold their own, they have to understand that the real world sometimes forces you to make tough choices that don't fit into a neat, clean moral box. It's about being pragmatic.
So here's the really crucial psychological pattern to see. Thinkers like Dalio have observed this over and over again. Winners have a tendency to retroactively frame their actions as principled. The success comes first, and the moral justification for how they got there comes later. People are incredibly good at finding a way to make their values align with whatever turned out to be effective.
Which brings us to the cost. What happens to people who refuse to see this other game being played right in front of them? What is the real price of pure idealism in a world that is so clearly geared to reward outcomes?
First, you just get overlooked. Your hard work, your strong ethics, your best intentions, they're often ignored because you aren't producing the kind of results that the system is actually designed to see and reward. You basically become invisible.
Second, you get outmaneuvered. While you're busy playing the ideal game, focusing on influence and trust, other people who understand the rules of power and politics are consistently positioning themselves to win. And a lot of the time, they're using your hard work to get ahead. And finally, the harshest consequence of all, you get neutralized. Your ability to have any impact at all is just stripped away. You become totally ineffective. A well-intentioned person who is ultimately completely powerless. So what's the edge? I mean, if pure idealism fails and pure power creates monsters, How do effective leaders actually get things done? The answer isn't to pick one game over the other. The answer is to become a hybrid.
Let's just be really clear here. Neither extreme works as a long-term strategy. The pure idealists, like we just saw, they end up ineffective and ignored. But the people who only play the game of pure power, they end up untrustworthy and isolated. They might get some short-term wins, but they burn so many bridges that they can't last.
The real edge belongs to the hybrid leader. This is someone who operates with what you could call strategic pragmatism. They build wide coalitions, like Adam Grant talks about, but they do it while understanding and using political dynamics the way Pfeffer teaches. They are relentlessly focused on outcomes, like Dalio, but they also know how to play the long game, blending reputation with results, like Naval Ravikant would advise. They don't run from the ethical gray areas, they learn to navigate them with intention.
So, we've mapped the signals, we've looked at the patterns, and we've defined the games. But now, the analysis has to turn inward. To really get an edge from this, you have to apply this map to your own world.
First, just be honest with yourself. When you really look at your day-to-day actions, your priorities, which game are you primarily playing? Is it the idealist's game of influence or the realist's game of power?
Okay, next, look around you. Look at your boss, your colleagues, your competitors. Which game are they playing? Because understanding the environment you're in is every bit as critical as understanding yourself.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question. What would actually become possible for you, for your career, for the impact you want to have if you stopped seeing these as two separate options and instead learned how to master both games at the same time? The answer to that question, that's your edge.